What obvious signals did you have to give to your crush that flew right over their head? I was pursuing him hard. He was making me dinner at his house and we were chatting. He makes a joke about the hoops he'd have to jump through to get a classy woman like me to sleep with him. I respond with, "It wouldn't take all that for you to get me in your bed," as I flirtatiously grin at him and roll my eyes towards his bedroom. He laughs and responds with, "So, what do you like on your salad?" Thankfully, I didn't give up on that dork and now we're happily living together in the mountains. Hey, computer store guy, the best response to, "Hey, let me have your number so we can study at my place sometime," is not to roll your eyes and say, "Oh yeah, because you're so much smarter than me. I don't need help. I'm fine." Though watching your coworker silently lose his crap in the background was reward enough for that interaction. Look, I knew he liked me. I got in prime kissing position, as in my lips way too close to his to be mistaken for anything else, and he still did nothing. So I kissed him, he barely kissed me back, and when I pulled away and smiled at him, he said, "I'm confused," and genuinely looked like he didn't believe that what had just happened was real. We've been together 7 years now, 3 of which we've been married. He still has moments weekly where I see that same cute, disbelieving expression on his face, and he'll hug me and say, "Are you sure this is real? It's too good to be true." Many girls gave me attention in high school, so I figured that meant we were all good friends, and I never tried anything. Years later, I find out that I was basically on The Bachelor but held off on dating my friends for so long that they all figured I was gay or uninterested, so they moved on. But actually, I'm just dumb. Life sucks sometimes. Every time I read a girl's signals as being glaringly obvious, I always just end up having been led on by an overly flirtatious friend. It blows, so I don't blame you. I outright told him I liked him. He laughed and went, "Okay, where are the cameras?" I'm female, had a guy tell me straight out he liked me in high school. My response? You shouldn't joke about stuff like that, you could hurt someone's feelings. Had a girl in high school tell me she liked me. I thought it was a joke for about 3 weeks. Then I finally said okay and agreed to a date. Turns out, my instincts were right and it was just a joke that 6 or 7 girls got in on. Same thing happened to me, only except it was a prom date. Needless to say, it took a long time to figure out my current fiancé liked me. So we have some contention about whether outright telling someone that you're romantically interested in them is an actual signal. That's how crappy the playing field is out there for some people, I guess. At least I would assume that most of these seem to be younger people, so us crusty older people likely have it easier on that front. This was one that happened to me. I'm a girl, but I might as well share it anyway. There was this guy in my class in elementary school, and he told me he had a crush on a girl in our class, and if I could guess who, he'd tell me. I guessed every girl in my class, and he said no to them all, so I eventually just assumed he was messing with me and gave up. It took me 10 years to realize that I'd forgotten to guess myself. I sat on his lap, I put his arms around my waist, rested my head on his shoulder, and held onto his hands. He still had no idea that I liked him. Hold on a second. Holding hands and resting your head on his shoulders was a sign of interest? Frick! My high school crush did that to me whenever she had the opportunity to do so. She'd even rest her head on my lap a few times when we were alone. God damn it. I guess it was a little past crush at this point, but we were on a date and he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said, "Well, I don't even know what it's like to kiss you." And he goes, "Oh, okay." I was like, "That's your cue," and kissed him. It was kind of cute. I really can be an incredibly dumb guy about these sorts of things. Met her in the bar, lots of dancing together, drinks, her hand sitting on my thigh all the time as we sat. She asked me to walk her home, saying no one is home and she feels unsafe. I agree, in front of her home we stand there, she takes initiative and kisses me. I literally jump up because I was looking just past her face at this new Audi driving up the hill kinda half zoned out. I still feel so sorry for that girl. We hung out often. The last birthday of his was a hot day in July. I texted him, 95% of females who know better would be down for skinny dipping tonight. He responded, "That activity sounds like it's lacking in morals." Me? Makes sense, I have few morals. Actual conversation between me and my now ex-boyfriend. I brought some new leopard skin undies. I can't wait for you to see them. I brought printer ink today. Dang it, story time from my perspective. Hindsight is 2020. At work with this girl Kay. She comes to my house a lot. Spends time watching TV, joking around, snacking. I think just having fun together as friends because 1. I've never been in a relationship before, I was about 21 at the time, and 2. I was raised in a super conservative Christian home. Anyways, one day her best friend is hanging out with me and asking tons of questions about how I feel about Kay. You two are spending a lot of time together, are you going to ask her out? Of course I respond with, how we're just friends, she shouldn't worry about it, blah blah. I'm so bad at hints, it's painful. Fast forward a week or so, Kay is over at my house super late and decides she isn't going home. She'll just sleep at my place. I insisted on sleeping on the couch. She was having none of it. I find a compromise and sleep in pajamas for the first time in more than 10 years, and sleep under the blanket, but not the sheets, so we're not actually touching. She gets super cuddly, and I roll over and go to sleep. In short, girl tries to get busy with me, and I just assume she's too lazy to drive home. I don't remember exactly when I clicked as to what had been going on. I just thought about it one day way later, and my reaction was something along the lines of, damn, I was an idiot. She was a great girl, and by the time I realized, we'd grown apart long since with her moving away. I said, I want to F you, and he said, thanks. Although another time I texted a guy I wanted to sit on his face, and 20 minutes later I was doing just that. You win some, you lose some, I guess. As a guy to whom this has been said, I actually responded with thanks too. At the spur of the moment, it was the first thing that came to mind that didn't sound like an outright rejection, but was an attempt to say, I take that as a compliment, but I do not reciprocate. Not my smoothest moment, but I thought it was slightly better than no thanks. Us guys aren't stupid, we're just scared of being hurt and tricked into embarrassment. And then sometimes just so gosh darn confused, because this girl is so fine that you just assume she's just being mates, even though you're picking up all the signs and ignoring them, and then finally having the balls to confront her about it, just as you find out she gave a down-under kiss to your best mate because she got bored of you. This may or may not have happened to me. I kissed my now boyfriend a year before we started dating. He thought I slipped. Like, oops, I accidentally sucked on your face. It doesn't mean anything though. He didn't know I liked him until I showed up at his basic training graduation. I attempted to low-key ask him to prom. Had to be cool about it, you know, nice and smooth. My phrasing was something along the lines of, maybe you and I should go to prom together. It'd be more fun than going alone. His response was just, yeah, maybe, before he walked away. I took this as a rejection and immediately ceased all my other genius attempts at flirting, such as hugging, touching his hair, letting him carry my bag to the bus. He just kinda did it. I never made him and it became a daily routine for us. And smiling at him and other such things. I thought I was so subtle, but almost everyone else knew. I found out years later that he honestly had been clueless, and the reason he had grown distant with me is he thought I didn't like him back. There is no hope for us human beings. Also, if anyone was wondering why the answers are so weighted towards the woman's perspective, it's because the original submission question was about how clueless men can be as to women hitting on them. Personally, I feel like I've met women who were as clueless as some of these guys, but there you go. Here's one from the perspective of the man being hit on. I have a feeling that if she were a Redditor, a friend of mine would be on here talking about me right now. I've known her for about 4 years. I've always had a crush on her, but when I brought it up a few years back, she gave me a lukewarm response. I never mentioned it again. Then last night, she got to talking about reaching that age where you want something comfortable to settle into, and she kept throwing hints about me. As much as I adore this girl and have wanted to date her for a long time, I didn't like the way she worded everything. It wasn't like, there's someone I like and I don't know how to tell them. It was more like, I want a relationship, but I don't want to date strangers. I guess that's why I spend time with you. You're comfortable. I like how comfortable we are together, but I also need passion. So I joked my way out of the awkwardness. I'm sure she thinks I didn't catch her hints. I did. I just want her to be interested in me because I'm special to her and she appreciates me. Not because I'm good enough and she doesn't feel like trying harder, you know? Lots of girls that were my friends that I thought were dropping hints turned out like this. I've had 4 friends say that, if we're still single when we're 30, I'll go out with you then. I'm sorry, but screw that. No better way to ruin a friendship. I like you, but not enough to settle down while I'm still as hot as I am. Maybe after I've screwed all your friends, is how I hear it. Found someone who wanted me from the start, and we've been married almost 7 years now. I said I really care about you. He said, cool. He didn't get it. I said, no, I really care about you, like more than I care about most people. He said, oh, yeah, I like you too. We're now happily married. I find myself wondering when he will figure that out too. I used to sneak out and throw rocks at his window at night to let him come out and talk to me. Also used to organize friends' nights for the sole purpose of seeing him. Was a complete shock to him apparently when my friend drunkenly told him he was so blind to my crush on him. We've been dating for 6 years now. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. It's easy to dismiss this as he was clueless, but there's one alternative explanation. He just doesn't believe you could possibly like him and that it's some kind of mean practical joke that you and your friends will laugh about later. He actually thought I was serious? Yeah, low self-esteem is a B word. And yeah, I should have said at least one alternative, but I think the assumption here is that the guy is, in fact, interested, but he's missing the signals and has reasons why he's not taking the initiative. I never believed it was done for laughs, I just thought I couldn't possibly be the subject of their attraction. Like, what? Help me? Do you need a psych evaluation? This isn't normal. Amen. Listen to your heart, the brain is a butthole. Well, we were both really tipsy. She sat on my lap and said, "I could never be with a guy like you, you're too nice." She was feeling my face and everything. I was confused. I had a rager and was sad at the same time. Snapchats with a deep neckline. So much chest visible. Wait, what if I get a Snapchat from a girl about her tan lines and she only has a towel covering the bits they censor on TV? As a girl, that's pretty hardcore flirting. My fiancé had no idea I was hitting on him before we started dating. After spending a day together with our college club, we returned to the campus and I asked him if he was free anytime the next week to hang out. He just said, "No, I'm really busy," which he maintains to this day was true. Then a few weeks later, I tried to get him to hang out again and I pretended to send a mass text to see who was in town for spring break. It was my night off, so I hoped he would respond. The next day he texts me, "Here," and that was it. I was convinced he didn't like me, but several of my friends told me to just ask him out. When I finally worked up the courage, I was so nervous that I wasn't my usual happy or goofy self. I told him I needed to talk to him, and he thought he had made me angry. He had no idea I was interested until I asked him out, and he was really happy when I did. We've been together almost 5 years now. Back in high school, I was very close to this girl who was in my friend group. Me and her did everything together, like go to the movies without the others in the group, go on lunch dates. She had sleepover, we were basically a couple. I say basically because we all did this, but I wasn't dating her, or even tried, because I really thought she wasn't into me. But I mean, this girl literally would tell me things like, "I'd be happy if you were my first time," and she actually got undressed in front of me one day. I was just an extremely dense kid who assumed she was like this with all guys. On a happier note, I did end up dating her once I got to college, and we're still together now. The poor girl was probably so frustrated with you by the time you got the hint. She must really like you to have put up with that. In my defense, she later told me that when she would occasionally talk about guys to me, it was to try and make me jealous. Of course I was jealous, but I thought I had no right in judging who a friend liked. Sometimes we ignore your super obvious hints because we aren't interested. Sometimes we also ignore your super obvious hints because we're afraid of accidentally mixing up the signals and coming off as a creep. A friend told me she had a crush on a girl but didn't know if she was straight or not and couldn't figure out how to raise the subject. I gave her some mostly joking suggestions. I was the girl. It went so far over my head that I actually got jealous of the mystery girl. She's my girlfriend now and is still laughing about the fact that I was jealous of myself. Well, this one is a bit fairer than most of the others. It's hard to work out if someone bats for your team if you've only seen them date the opposite one, or haven't seen them date at all. I can understand them testing the waters a bit first, plus you gave jokey answers. Can you blame her? I'm the guy whose head it went over. After my first real date ever, though at the time I wasn't sure if it was a date, when I was 19 at the movies, I took her home. I offered to walk her to her door like a sir. When we're up there, she tells me I didn't have to do that, and I reply with something like, "Well, sometimes I like to pull out the old-school, traditional moves." She turns away from the key in her door, takes a slight step towards me and says, "Well, do you know any more of those traditional moves?" I fricking bow, tip my fricking hat, and fricking say something corny like, "I had a lovely time tonight, madam." I didn't realize what I'd missed until I was halfway home and I scared the people beside me at the light because I was screaming at the top of my lungs and pounding the dashboard. Telling that story still makes me mad at myself all these years later. I mean, I just kissed him because he wasn't taking any hint. Take control. If he likes you, it's a sure winner. I was part of an investigation into infidelity. I can't really go into detail about it, but the gist is that Jane Doe was cheating on her husband in the military with some other guy, Steve, on base. Or she was trying to. Suffice to say, that guy wasn't too bright. I mean, I met the guy, and Steve wasn't all there. Some say he knew and was trying to dissuade her, knowing she was married, but due to some other stuff I can't divulge, he probably just didn't have a freaking clue. Sweet guy, good man, but dumb. Jane was really trying to take advantage of his stupidity, his muscle, and getting nowhere. Reading the details in the text messages and so on was hilarious. I'm going to paraphrase some of them here. I want to run barefoot through the fields with you. I grew up in Oklahoma. Those fields have cow pies. Gross. I can see my reflection in your eyes. It's the glasses. Run away with me. Take me into your arms. I have guard duty. My CO would have my butt. I want that butt. No, my CO is always telling me my butt is his. Huh? Have you ever wondered what true love is? Ever want to experience romance and deep desire, longing in winds of destiny? No. I'm so lonely. I want movies when I'm lonely. They got a theater on base. I think it's showing Titanic and Goonies. I want to be the rose to your Jack. My name is Steve. What do you think when you look up at the stars? I'm outside. I want you. I want you so bad. I know how that is. I want a good burger. But the ones they have here on base, the grill is only open till 8 and it's like 11. Oh my god, I want a burger so bad. What are you doing? Texting on Judy. What are you doing now? Texting on the pot. What are you doing after Judy? My CO caught me texting. Oh god, Steve. This question makes me sad because I never get a hint from any girl. Or perhaps you never noticed you received the hints from the girls. One time this girl who I knew had a crush on me somehow got my number and called me. She told me she liked me. I hung up the phone. Back when we had just met, my husband missed many of my extremely obvious and unsubtle hints. I'd say things like, "You should stay here and sleep with me tonight," and he'd say, "Oh no, I'm not tired yet, I'll just go home so you can sleep." Turns out he was super conscious of me being 17 instead of 18, he was in his early 20s. Once I turned 18, he suddenly became aware of all my not very subtle advances. Band trip to Universal. I'd purposefully chosen his group to walk around with, and stayed mostly just hanging out with him. Always tried to sit next to him on rides that required the group to split. Second day of the trip, we went to the second park. We all got butterbeer, and I didn't get a straw, so it was all over my top lip. He says, if you were any other girl, I'd be all smooth and like, "Here, let me help you with that," and kiss you, but I don't think you'll like that. I blush and say, "Well, how do you know I'm not like that?" No response. I sat next to him on the bus ride to and from Universal, even took home the stuffed dinosaur he won, and I'm pretty sure I brought him and his friend cheesecake, all while he was pining over some other girl. Apparently our friends were making bets on how long it would take us to get together. Took him a few weeks, but that's my boyfriend, everyone. Hi, sweetheart. I asked a guy if he'd bring some Xbox original games for us to play. In short, it was code for "we're going to bang." He brought over a big bag of games and we played them. I remember one was Time Splitters, which I freaking loved and wish I still had the means to play. I didn't tell him my original plan until a couple of years after we'd started going out. He was just so freaking cute, all super stoked that I wanted to game with him. I remember he came over a little later than planned because he'd been carefully selecting which games to bring. I married that goober. That is the worst "we will bang" hint in the fricking world. Really? That's what it's code for? Oh my god, all of my male friends want to do the deed with me. We would always hang out after classes on our own and I'd rest my head against his chest or lap, depending on whatever was comfiest, when we'd watch movies. I'd play with his hair a lot. I even kissed him on the cheek once. He had no idea. Oh wow, having read this thread, I think a dear friend might be into me. Oh crap. Gorgeous Russian blonde sat next to me in the study hall for a year in high school. Every day we'd push our desks together and playfully kick each other under the desk, hide each other's stuff and do homework together. After I moved states, she berated me for how oblivious I was. In my defense, I was a lanky nerd with low self-esteem. Some of us are very good at rationalizing away hints that we've noticed. For example, I've literally been making out with a girl who told me she is only physical when there's a meaning, then a day later convinced myself it didn't mean that she liked me. Talking on Facebook, I mentioned a new bar near where I worked, and he said he'd never heard of it. I said they had really good Bloody Marys. He said he didn't like mixed drinks. Then I read a Reddit thread about guys, when have you realized too late that she was flirting with you, and realized he had no clue that I wanted to go out for drinks. So I messaged him again and was more blunt about it. We're now married and expecting our second boy any day now. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.